You feel tired, but you're not done. You feel weak, but you're not finished. You feel lost, but this is not the end. Quitting is easy. Walking away is easy. What's hard is staying when everything tells you to leave. There comes a moment in every journey when quitting feels logical, when the results are slow, when the pressure is heavy, when the doubt is loud. That moment is not a sign to stop. It's a test. Everyone starts with motivation. Very few survive the phase where motivation dies. This is where most people quit right before growth begins. Progress is often invisible before it becomes undeniable. You don't see the strength forming. You don't feel the discipline building, but something is happening. Every step forward when you want to quit is shaping you. Pain does not mean failure. Struggle does not mean weakness. Resistance means you are moving forward. If it were easy, everyone would do it. The fact that it's hard is proof that it matters. Quitting trades temporary relief for permanent regret. Staying gives you something stronger, respect for yourself. You didn't come this far to stop here. You didn't sacrifice for nothing. You didn't endure all this just to walk away. The strongest people aren't the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who refuse to give up. You don't need more motivation. You need more commitment. Even slow progress is progress. Even small steps count. Even survival days matter. Just don't quit. The urge to quit does not arrive by accident. It shows up at specific moments when you're tired, when progress feels slow, when effort seems invisible. These moments are not signs that you're failing. They are signs that you are standing at the edge of growth. Every meaningful journey includes this test. Most people misinterpret discomfort as a warning. They assume that feeling overwhelmed means something is wrong. In reality, discomfort often means something is changing. Growth disrupts comfort. It forces your mind and body to adapt. An adaptation always feels uncomfortable at first. The test appears when you've invested enough effort to make quitting tempting. Early on, quitting is easy because nothing is at stake. Later, quitting hurts because you've already sacrificed time, energy, and identity. This is the moment where character is revealed. Tests don't ask if you're capable, they ask if you're committed. When the urge to quit appears, it exposes your internal dialogue. Excuses sound reasonable. Justifications feel logical. You start negotiating with yourself. This mental resistance is part of the test. It challenges whether your goals are conditional or non-negotiable. Every test is an opportunity to redefine who you are. When you stay, even when quitting feels justified, you strengthen self-respect. You prove to yourself that your word matters. This proof builds confidence far more than success ever could. The urge to quit often arrives before clarity. Progress is rarely linear. There are phases where effort produces no visible reward. This delay is intentional. It filters out those who rely on motivation and rewards those who rely on discipline. Testing moments also sharpen focus. When things are easy, effort is casual. When things are hard, intention becomes precise. You become aware of what truly matters. Distractions lose appeal. This clarity strengthens resolve. The test doesn't last forever. It intensifies before it passes. Most people quit at peak resistance, not realizing they were close to breakthrough. Endurance is often the final requirement before results appear. When you resist the urge to quit, you train your nervous system to tolerate stress. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. This adaptation increases capacity. You become stronger without realizing it. The test also exposes motivation. If your drive depends on excitement or praise, it will fail under pressure. Tests force you to operate on purpose rather than emotion. Purpose is stable. Emotion is not. Each time you pass a test, future tests lose power. You build a reference point. You remember that you've survived this feeling before. This memory strengthens confidence and reduces fear. The urge to quit is not the enemy. It is a signal that you are leaving your old limits behind. Resistance increases as you approach new levels. The pressure is not there to break you, it's there to shape you. Testing moments also teach patience. You learn that progress doesn't always feel rewarding. Sometimes growth feels boring, heavy, or frustrating. Learning to continue builds maturity. When you stay during the test, you separate yourself from the majority. Most people quit when things get uncomfortable. By staying, you join a smaller group, those who endure. Tests demand a decision. Not tomorrow, Not later. Now. Will you stay or will you leave? Will you grow or retreat? The answer is written through action, not intention. The urge to quit will return again and again in different forms. Each time it will ask the same question, are you willing to continue without guarantees? Every time you answer that question with action, you strengthen the identity of someone who does not quit while progress rarely announces itself. It doesn't arrive with noise or celebration. Most of the time, it happens quietly beneath the surface, unnoticed. You wake up every day expecting results. You measure effort by outcomes. And when outcomes don't show up fast enough, doubt creeps in. But growth does not operate on your timeline. It follows a process. Just because you can't see progress doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means the work is being done where it matters first. Strength builds before it shows. Skill develops before it looks impressive. Confidence forms before it feels stable. Progress is invisible before it becomes undeniable. The body doesn't change overnight. The mind doesn't rewire instantly. Discipline doesn't become natural in a week. Everything meaningful requires accumulation. Every rep you complete, every page you read every early morning, you survive every excuse, you ignore ads, something you can't yet measure. Most people quit during this phase, not because the work isn't working, but because the results are delayed. Delayed results create emotional resistance. You start questioning your effort. You start comparing your journey. You start wondering if it's worth it. This is where belief is tested. Progress does not always feel productive. Some days feel repetitive. Some days feel pointless. Some days feel like you're standing still. But repetition is how mastery is built. Consistency is how momentum is created. You are training more than outcomes. You are training patience. You are training discipline. You are training resilience. These traits don't show on the surface, but they determine everything. Progress happens in layers. First, the mindset changes, then habits shift, then behavior aligns. Then results appear. Skipping steps weakens growth. Enduring them strengthens it. Invisible progress protects you. It prevents arrogance. It builds humility. It teaches gratitude. When success arrives too fast, it often disappears just as quickly. Slow progress lasts. Every time you show up without seeing results, you deepen your commitment. You stop depending on motivation. You start depending on identity. You become someone who finishes. Progress is happening in your reactions. You recover faster from setbacks. You think clearer under pressure. You hesitate less before acting. These changes matter more than numbers. Progress is happening in your standards. What you once tolerated, you now reject. What once felt impossible now feels normal. You don't notice these shifts because they become part of you. The most dangerous moment is when effort feels invisible. That's when quitting feels justified. That's when excuses sound logical. But invisibility is temporary. Accumulation is permanent. Progress compounds silently until one day it becomes impossible to ignore. That's when people say you got lucky. That's when they say it happened fast. They didn't see the days that felt useless. They didn't feel the frustration. They didn't endure the uncertainty, but you did. Progress doesn't need your approval. It only needs your consistency. Every step you take while unsure strengthens the future version of you. Keep going even when proof is missing. Keep working even when belief is thin. Keep showing up even when it feels pointless. Because what you can't see today is preparing what you can't lose tomorrow. That pain is unavoidable on any path that leads somewhere meaningful. The moment you decide to grow, to change, to become more than you were yesterday, pain becomes part of the process. The mistake most people make is believing that pain is a signal to stop. In reality, pain is often a signal that something important is happening. Temporary pain comes in many forms. It shows up as exhaustion when you're pushing beyond your limits. It appears as frustration when progress feels slow. It feels like loneliness when you choose discipline over distraction. None of these forms of pain last forever, but each one tests your commitment. Quitting, on the other hand, creates a different kind of pain. It is quieter, but it lasts much longer. It shows up as regret. It lingers as self-doubt. It grows every time you think about what could have been if you had stayed just a little longer. This pain does not fade easily because it is tied to identity. When you quit, you don't just stop an activity. You weaken your trust in yourself. You teach your mind that discomfort is a valid reason to walk away. That lesson doesn't stay isolated. It spreads. The next challenge feels heavier. The next obstacle feels bigger. Pain during growth is constructive. Pain from quitting is destructive. Temporary pain has an endpoint. It peaks and then passes. The body adapts. The mind adjusts. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. This adaptation is how strength is built. The pain you feel today is preparing you to handle tomorrow with more confidence. Quitting interrupts this process. It freezes you at your current capacity. Instead of expanding your limits, you retreat back into familiarity. Familiarity feels safe, but it slowly erodes ambition. Pain demands presence. It forces you to focus, to breathe, to endure. In that endurance, you discover resilience. You realize you can survive more than you thought. This realization builds confidence that no external success can replace. The fear of pain is often worse than the pain itself. Anticipation magnifies discomfort. When you finally face it, you realize it is survivable. Avoidance, however, strengthens fear. Each time you avoid discomfort, fear grows louder. Quitting offers immediate relief. That relief feels good in the moment, but it comes at a cost. Relief fades quickly and doubt takes its place. You start questioning your ability. You start lowering your standards. Over time, this erosion becomes heavy. Pain from effort builds pride. Pain from quitting builds shame. Temporary pain also creates clarity. It strips away distractions. It reveals what matters. When things are hard, you learn what you're willing to fight for. This clarity strengthens purpose. Every meaningful outcome requires endurance through discomfort. There is no shortcut that bypasses pain. Those who succeed are not immune to pain. They are willing to experience it. Quitting trades growth for comfort. Comfort is seductive, but it is fragile. It disappears the moment life demands more from you. Growth, on the other hand, prepares you for pressure. Pain teaches patience. It slows you down and forces awareness. You learn to pace yourself. You learn to manage energy. These skills increase longevity, not just performance. When you endure pain, you expand your tolerance. What once felt unbearable becomes familiar. This expansion builds mental toughness. Mental toughness is what carries you when motivation fades. Quitting stops the lesson prematurely. You never discover how strong you could have become. You never meet the version of yourself that exists beyond that moment. Pain passes. Strength remains. Every time you choose to stay through discomfort, you build a reference point. You remember that you endured before. This memory becomes fuel when the next challenge appears. Temporary pain is a teacher. Quitting silences the lesson before it's complete. Endurance does not eliminate pain, but it transforms it into something useful. And each time you choose endurance over escape, you reinforce the identity of someone who does not give up. Motivation is emotional. It rises when things feel exciting and disappears when they don't. Discipline is different. Discipline does not depend on how you feel. It operates when energy is low, when progress is slow, and when quitting seems reasonable. This is why discipline is the true engine behind long-term success. Everyone feels motivated at the beginning. The vision is clear. The goal feels close. Energy is high. But motivation fades the moment effort becomes repetitive and rewards are delayed. This is not a flaw in your character. It is human nature. Discipline exists to bridge that gap. Discipline is a decision to act, even when emotion says no. It is choosing commitment over comfort. When motivation fails, discipline steps in and keeps you moving. This consistency creates reliability. You become someone who can be counted on by others and by yourself. Reliability builds confidence because it removes uncertainty. You no longer question whether you will show up. You know you will. Discipline reduces mental friction. Instead of debating whether to act, you follow a system. Systems protect progress when willpower is weak. The less you rely on emotion, the more stable your progress becomes. Motivation chases results. Discipline commits to process. Results fluctuate. Process remains. Those who depend on motivation stop when results stall. Those who depend on discipline continue until results arrive. Discipline also strengthens identity. You stop seeing effort as something you do and start seeing it as who you are. This shift is powerful because identity-based habits are hard to break. When motivation disappears, discipline preserves momentum. Momentum is fragile. One missed day can turn into a week. Discipline prevents that slide by enforcing standards even on low energy days. Discipline builds tolerance for boredom. Many goals fail not because they are hard, but because they are repetitive. Discipline trains you to stay engaged without constant stimulation. This ability separates those who finish from those who start. Motivation is reactive. Discipline is proactive. You don't wait to feel ready. You act, and readiness follows. This reversal changes everything. Discipline also protects against excuses. Excuses feel logical when motivation is gone. Discipline ignores logic and honors commitment. It doesn't ask how you feel, it asks what needs to be done. Through discipline, you gain control over your environment. You structure your time, you manage distractions, you create routines that support progress. This structure reduces chaos and increases focus. Discipline builds endurance. You learn to pace yourself instead of burning out. You develop sustainable habits that carry you through long stretches of effort. When motivation returns, discipline ensures it's used effectively. Motivation becomes a bonus, not a requirement. This balance increases longevity. Discipline also builds self-respect. Each time you act despite resistance, you reinforce your standards. Self-respect grows when actions align with values. Motivation feels powerful, but it is unreliable. Discipline feels heavy at first, but it becomes freeing. Freedom comes from knowing you can rely on yourself, regardless of circumstances. Discipline trains your nervous system to tolerate effort. What once felt draining becomes normal. This adaptation increases capacity. When motivation fails, and it will, discipline carries you forward. It keeps the promise you made to yourself when belief was strong. Progress does not require constant passion. It requires consistent action. Discipline ensures that action continues long after excitement fades. And in that continuation, success quietly takes shape. That winning is often misunderstood. Many people believe winning means being the most talented, the fastest, or the smartest. In reality, winning is usually decided by endurance. The ability to continue when others stop is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. If you don't quit, you place yourself in a position where success becomes inevitable. Most people quit not because they can't continue, but because they convince themselves that stopping is reasonable. They interpret fatigue as failure. They mistake slow progress for no progress. Over time, these small justifications pile up until quitting feels like the only option. But quitting is not proof that the path was wrong. It's proof that endurance was tested. If you don't quit, time starts working in your favor. Effort compounds. Skills sharpen. Understanding deepens. Even when progress feels slow, you are accumulating advantages that will eventually surface. Consistency turns average effort into extraordinary results. Not quitting does not mean forcing yourself blindly. It means adapting while continuing. It means adjusting strategy without abandoning purpose. Those who win are not stubborn. They are persistent and flexible. They learn, refine, and keep moving. Every day you don't quit strengthens your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who finishes. This identity changes how you approach challenges. Instead of asking, should I stop? You ask, how do I continue? This shift is powerful. Endurance builds confidence. When you've survived long stretches of difficulty, future obstacles feel less intimidating. You've already proven your resilience. This proof becomes internal strength that cannot be taken away. Not quitting also builds credibility. Others begin to trust you because you stay consistent. More importantly, you trust yourself. Self-trust is the foundation of confidence and leadership. Progress rewards patience. Many breakthroughs happen suddenly, but only after long periods of quiet effort. People see the result but miss the endurance that made it possible. When you don't quit, you stay present long enough to catch those moments. Quitting ends possibilities. Continuing keeps them alive. Even when the outcome is uncertain, staying in the game preserves opportunity. Opportunity only exists for those who remain. If you don't quit, failure becomes feedback instead of a final verdict. You use mistakes to adjust, not to retreat. This mindset turns setbacks into stepping stones. Winning through endurance is sustainable. It doesn't rely on bursts of motivation or perfect conditions. It relies on commitment. Commitment survives difficulty. Not quitting also teaches humility. You learn that success is earned slowly. This humility keeps you grounded when progress arrives and resilient when challenges return. Every challenge you outlast increases your capacity. What once felt impossible becomes manageable. What once discouraged you now strengthens you. You don't need to be fearless. You don't need to be perfect. You don't even need to be confident every day. You only need to keep going, because in a world where most people stop when it gets hard, simply refusing to quit is enough to put you ahead.